What did they eat for dinner in the 1980s? Hello and welcome to Crazy Food History, where we explore the world of food and drink. The 1980s was a decade characterized by vibrant pop culture, technological advancements, and significant shifts in societal norms. This period also witnessed changes to dietary preferences and culinary trends, reflecting the evolving tastes and influences of the time. In this video, we will explore the dinner menus and culinary landscape of the 1980s, providing a nostalgic glimpse into the meals that graced dining tables during this iconic era. One of the defining features of the 1980s dinner scene was the proliferation of fast food chains. These establishments, such as McDonald's, Burger King, and KFC, became ubiquitous symbols of modern American dining. Families often flocked to these restaurants for quick and affordable meals, enjoying classic favorites like hamburgers, french fries, and fried chicken. Fast food also introduced new flavors and concepts such as the iconic Big Mac, or the introduction of the Chicken McNugget, which quickly became staples of the decade. In the 80s, people started caring more about eating healthy and looking for low-fat, low-calorie food choices. This trend happened because people started caring more about what they eat and wanting to live healthier. People started liking dishes like salads, grilled chicken, steamed veggies, and baked fish more because they wanted to eat lighter and healthier meals. Also, more and more people started going vegetarian or vegan, so now there are a lot of plant-based options and people are really into fresh fruits and veggies. Oh, and let's not forget about the nouvelle cuisine popping up in the 80s food scene. So there was this French cooking thing that was all about making food look pretty and using different methods and ingredients. It was pretty different from the usual way of cooking. Chefs are like totally trying out new flavor combos and making the food look super fancy on the plate. It's like taking the dining experience to a whole new level, man. The food back then was pretty fancy. They had stuff like seared scallops with citrus sauce, duck confit, and caramelized pear tart that showed off how creative they were in the kitchen. Plus, during the 80s, what people ate for dinner was also influenced by where they came from and their culture. Italian food is super popular, like spaghetti carbonara and lasagna. Yum! Asian flavors became more popular because soy sauce, ginger, and sesame oil were easier to find. Stir fries, sushi, and Thai curries became sought-after options for those seeking a taste of the exotic. Furthermore, the 1980s witnessed a revival of classic comfort foods. So like old school dishes that people stopped eating in the 70s because they were all about eating healthy are back, but with some cool new updates. Meatloaf, macaroni and cheese, pot roast, and casseroles regained popularity, often featuring updated ingredients or innovative cooking techniques. This cool trend was all about getting those home-cooked vibes, making you feel all warm and fuzzy inside. Oh, and by the way, in the 80s, Tex-Mex food became super popular too. Inspired by the fusion of Mexican and American flavors, Tex-Mex dishes like nachos, burritos, enchiladas, and fajitas gained widespread recognition. Tex-Mex food is all about using yummy ingredients like chilies, cumin, tortillas, and melted cheese to make your taste buds happy. Seafood also had its moment in the 1980s with an increased focus on fresh and sustainable catches. Shrimp cocktails, lobster bisque, grilled salmon, and oysters, Rockefeller were just a few examples of the seafood dishes that adorned dinner tables. This emphasis on seafood is partly driven by the growing awareness of the health benefits associated with consuming lean protein sources and omega-3 fatty acids. Furthermore, the 1980s marked the rise of celebrity chefs and cooking shows, which greatly influenced dinner choices and cooking techniques. So you know those famous chefs like Julia Child, Jacques Pepin, and Emeril Lagasse? They're like superstars in the kitchen, showing us all how to cook up some seriously delicious stuff and giving us tons of ideas for new recipes to try out at home. These chefs showed us all kinds of yummy foods from different parts of the world, making us want to try new things when we cook at home. When it comes to beverages, the 1980s witnessed a shift toward wine and cocktails. People started drinking more wine, and restaurants started offering a wider variety of wines on their menus. California wines like Chardonnay and Cabernet Sauvignon completely blew up and showed how American wine game was strong. Back in the day, everyone was all about the Cosmo, Long Island, and Pina Colada. They were like the ultimate drinks that captured the wild and extravagant vibe of the time. Desserts back in the 1980s were all about indulging in the most decadent and rich treats. So people still love the classics like chocolate mousse, cheesecake, and creme brulee, but now that there are some new kids on the block like black forest cake and tiramisu getting some attention. This time period also brought in some lighter desserts with fresh fruits, yogurt, and granola for those who like to keep it healthy. The 80s were all about crazy and unforgettable dinner parties. One cool thing about this time was that people were getting more into trying different foods from all over the world. As travel got easier, folks got to taste all sorts of yummy foods from different parts of the world. This made them curious about global cuisine and want to try more. Asian food was all the rage in the 80s. Chinese food's still a go-to for dinner in many places around the world. So like sweet and sour chicken, General Tso's chicken, and beef with broccoli are the go-to dishes for Chinese American food. Japanese food got really popular, and now you can find sushi bars and hibachi-style restaurants everywhere. So now we've got sushi rolls, sashimi, and tempura on our dinner plates, bringing some fancy vibes to the food game. Also, Thai food started getting popular in the 80s with yummy dishes like pad thai, green curry, and tom yum soup that made people fall in love with their amazing flavors and spices. Thai food is so good. It's got this awesome mix of sweet, sour, spicy, and savory flavors that make dinner way more interesting. Middle Eastern food was totally blowing up in the past 10 years. So Mediterranean food's all the rage now. You got your falafel, hummus, tabbouleh, and shawarma, all those fancy flavors and spices that make your taste buds dance. Like in the 80s, people still love their easy-to-make foods, and they were also into stuff from other countries. Frozen dinners, canned soups, and boxed mixes are still go-to options for busy people who want a quick and easy meal. These easy foods got a bad rap for being salty and having lots of preservatives, but they were a lifesaver for busy people who didn't have time to cook. Another significant aspect of 1980s dinner culture was the prevalence of potluck gatherings and themed dinner parties. People would just get together and bring food that represents their culture or a specific theme. From Mexican parties to Italian dinners, these get-togethers had a bunch of yummy food and made everyone feel like they were part of a big family. The 80s were all about fancy cooking and throwing awesome parties. Throwing fancy dinner parties became a trendy thing to do, and home chefs were all about making fancy and pretty-looking food. Fancy recipes with fancy presentations, fancy garnishes, and fancy flavors were the star of the show. They put elegant stuff like truffles, foie gras, and caviar in the food, and it made the meal super bougie. Also in the 80s, people started mixing different types of food to make cool and new flavors. This was called fusion cuisine, and it was super exciting. So chefs were mixing stuff from different cultures and making cool new dishes that were both familiar and exciting. This fusion trend led to the emergence of dishes like sushi burritos, Thai-inspired pizzas, and Mexican-Asian fusion tacos, reflecting the bold and experimental spirit of the era. In the 80s, salad bars became popular in restaurants and grocery stores. These DIY salad stations had all sorts of fresh veggies, toppings, and dressings, so you could make your salad just the way you like it. So, people were really into eating healthy and stuff during that time, and they were all about the fresh fruits and veggies. Microwaves totally changed the game in the 80s. Suddenly, cooking was way easier and more convenient. Microwave meals like TV dinners and instant noodles are super popular for a quick and easy dinner. Microwaving is great for people who are busy and want quick meals without any fuss. The 1980s saw the rise of catchy food advertisements on television promoting various products and dining experiences. Ads for breakfast cereals, fast food joints, and junk food had cool pictures and catchy tunes that influence what people like to eat. So basically, dinner in the 80s was all about trying new foods and mixing things up. All kinds of yummy foods from around the world, easy to make meals, fancy cooking, and fun dinner parties have made eating more interesting and exciting. Back in the 80s, dinner was all about trying out new and exciting flavors from China, Japan, Thailand, and the Middle East. And if you didn't feel like cooking, you could always impress your guests with some elegant gourmet dishes. It was a time when people loved to experiment with food and create unforgettable dining experiences. So, what do you think? Would you have enjoyed the meals of the 80s? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more delicious trips down memory lane.